Hello, everyone out there in YouTube land. This is Will of the Nerds. My name is Will, and we are back with the perfect podcast, which is what I'm going to call it, because I go over games that I like, but maybe I think of a way to make it better, or my perfect version of it, or like a fantasy version of it, I guess. So basically, my opinion on how I think a game should be, or my perfect version of either a new game coming out or like a sequel that might come out eventually. Or, as you can see, Total War in the background. So this one's going to be, to me, extremely far-fetched. I don't think it's ever going to happen, but it's just, something that I'd like to see, something neat, something that is different. So we got my intro out of the way, so I'm going to start each podcast basically with a quick overview of what we're going to go over in my podcast. That way, if you're just jumping in, you get a gist of what I'm going to go over. Or like if you've watched the other two podcasts I have up, basically just give you an idea of what I'm going over. That way you have more of a sense of what's going on. So first, I'm going to start out with basically what you see. The Total War, I have it as Total War podcast, is just my general save, but it's going to be the perfect podcast Total War or something like that. I'm recording the audio beforehand, so I'm not 100% sure. So I'm basically going to go over the game that I picked and try to make the perfect version of it. And then I'm going to go over any updates I have for the channel, which in this is going to have a decent bit of updates with everything going on next month. And I'll get more to that later. And then basically the last thing is I'll go over some gaming news, whether it's in actual video games or D&D or Magic the Gathering. Just whatever I can find or whatever catches my interest, I guess. Because I'm not going to be your main gaming news channel. That's not really what I want to be. I just want to create video game content for you guys to enjoy. So, without further ado, I guess we'll get into it. As you can see, I'm playing Total War Rome 2 in the background, and yes, I do have mods installed, and yes, I gave money to myself. That way I didn't just get absolutely anally destroyed playing it for the podcast, and that way it's somewhat entertaining, and so I could actually get like an hour and a half of gameplay fairly quickly, and that way it's a little more exciting than just me clicking on stuff. Because if any of you have played Total War, starting out, it's kind of a slow game. It really doesn't get going until maybe like turn 40 or 50, which could turn some people away from it. But to me, the main reason I play it is the real-time combat in it. That's the main reason I play it. I love it. So, like, I'll go from a history with Total War. I've played Rome 2. Before that, I did play the original Rome and Total War Medieval 2. That's what got me into it. I think I played it on my laptop, actually. So I played the first Rome game and Medieval 2 on my laptop. And they ran okay. And then they released a trailer for Rome 2 that was coming out next year, the following year, whatever year it came out. I can't remember off the top of my head. But I was like, alright, I'm going to ask my friends. I'm going to try building my own PC. So I got all the parts together. I ordered everything on Amazon. I checked it on iBuyPower to make sure everything was compatible before I just went and bought everything. And I put it together, and my first PC I built was to play Rome 2. Like, that's what it was for. It was for Total War. And I loved it. The computer lasted a couple years before it shit the bed. I don't know what happened to it. I think the RAM sticks went bad or anything. But I ordered another one, which is what I'm recording all my stuff on now. And, like, that's basically how I got into it. I haven't played the original Medieval or the original Shogun. They're just extremely dated now. And some of the games, like Rome and Medieval 2, Empire and Shogun 2, they're a little dated also. But, some of them you can go back and play. Like Shogun 2 just kind of annoys me, but like I can go back and play Empire and not medieval, Napoleon Total War. Just they kind of, they're right at that edge right before Rome 2 came out, before they started with like, I guess, a new engine, and like the worlds were more detailed and it just looked prettier. I know there's all kinds of overhaul mods you can get for it. I usually don't mess with mods unless it's on Steam, because I'm a simpleton. I don't really understand all that, and I don't want to fuck up save files and stuff like that. But I really enjoy them because they're history games for the most part, with the exception of Total War, Warhammer 1 and 2, and the newest one that just came out, Total War Troy. And I guess Total War 3 Kingdoms is kind of because some of that's true, but some of it's not true. It's just kind of Chinese history stuff, which I don't know a whole lot about. I mean, if you do, you can let me know in the comments below. But I'm more like, I know more Roman history than anything, and that's why I really like it, and it got me even more into like Rome history and Greek history. So what I would like to see them update the older games. I'm pretty sure they'll get to it. Like, I would love to see a medieval Total War Medieval 3, but they do have a mod called Total War 1212, which is basically that. It's still kind of in the works. It's on Steam. I think it's through Total War Attila is what it's played on, and there's actually that's another thing I really like about the Total War games, is there's a decent bit of mods for them. There's actually a new Lord of the Rings mod for Total War Attila, I believe. And I don't have it. I just remembered, so probably when I'm done with recording the audio of this, I might look it up, see if it's on Steam, if I can get it. It probably doesn't have a campaign yet. It's probably just multiplayer or skirmish battles. I try playing Medieval Total War 1212 on the campaign they have, but every time I get in, it just crashes. So I don't know if they still got bugs to fix, or if there's something wrong on my end that I need to figure out. But I mean, for the longest time, even now, people still mod Medieval 2, because there was a Lord of the Rings mod for it. There's all kinds of goofy mods for Medieval 2. Pixelated Apollo was probably the main YouTuber I watch that does a lot of Total War stuff. I don't think he does a whole lot of Total War now, but I mean, he's the one that really got me into it, and I watched all kinds of stuff, and like, there's all kinds of mods for Medieval 2. And like Napoleon Total War, there's a Civil War mod for it that's really good. There's a couple of them actually, and there's one that has like just historical battles in it, and then there's another one where it's just a grand campaign, where you can play the North or the South. I picked the North, obviously. I'm from Pennsylvania, so like, it's where my heritage is. I play the North, and basically that's the gist of them. They're mostly historical games, except for Warhammer 1 and Warhammer 2 and Total War Troy, and then Shogun, or not Shogun, Three Kingdoms, which is, I don't really know a whole lot about. I think it's somewhat historic, but it's somewhat not. But I guess the next thing I'd go over is some of the specific things I like from the games. The first one I remember is just Rome 2. They're historical games. I like the history aspect of the games. Let's see, Thrones of Britannia, I don't really care for. I like the idea of, it's like early England, with England getting colonized by the Vikings. And I like the idea, I really like it, but the engine and how they supported the game just wasn't good. I'm sure there's a good bit of mods out there to fix it. It's just, if you get into it, it's probably not the first one you want to pick, but hey, if it's cheap and you're interested, I'd say, I wouldn't even say get it on sale, just because it is a bit difficult, even for me. Like, I've played, and it's just frustrating. The ones I always suggest are Rome or Medieval 2, even though Medieval 2 is a little older. It's pretty easy to learn, pretty easy to pick up. It's fun, especially if you like a medieval time period. And like that's the thing I really like about the game is that they're all specific time periods, like medieval, Napoleon. Empire is like right before the American Revolution, but they have a DLC for it. And like there's just all kinds of DLCs for all of the games, and like they add like there's Wrath of Sparta for Rome, and there's Age of Charlemagne for Attila, where it kind of just sets up these different campaigns. There's like a Caesar campaign for Rome. I'm trying to think. There's like Native American units for Empire that you can get. And the thing I really like is they have actual like other campaign DLCs to put in that are like historical campaigns where you can change the outcome of history. And they add more units to it, which makes it really neat. It makes it more in depth. It makes your army more complete. And they add new armies for DLC. There's also in the Steam workshops you can download mods to get the factions if you don't feel like shelling out all the money. Like those mods are probably better than just buying the DLC. So I honestly suggest if you see one of these games on sale, I'd pick them up. They're fun. I'd pick up one of the newer ones, maybe not like the latest new ones, because if you have kind of an older PC, it's not going to run. So from like maybe Medieval 2 till like Total War Attila would probably be the best ones to go through. There's also like historical battles in some of it in the historic games, where you can just pick a certain battle from history. So like an Empire, I don't know if it's an Empire, but you could pick specific battles. I know there's like maybe 6 to 10 historic battles on Rome. I don't think they really do that anymore, but of course they haven't done a historic game in a while. They've done more fantasy games. And like as far as I know, the units are historically based too and accurate. They all have they have multiplayer, at least as far back as I know. Medieval 2 has multiplayer, so and Rome 2 has 2-player, I believe, campaign. So you can play a 2-player campaign with one of your friends, or you can get on and do a skirmish battle up to like 4v4, or you can play the robot or the AI, which the AI isn't that bright, even on hard difficulty. I don't play on legendary difficulty just because I don't like losing, and I'm afraid of losing, even though I could probably handle the AI on legendary, whatever it is, because the AI is not that bright, and they do need to fix their engine, which I'm hoping they have done or they're going to do. And they're still in a deal with the creators of Warhammer. I can't remember the company off the top of my head, but they have a contract with one more Warhammer game, I believe, so there's going to be a third Warhammer game. But I'd really like to see them get back into the history games, which there's a lot I like. The history of it, the historical units, the historical battles, all the DLCs they have for them, the like unit DLCs, the extra campaign DLCs. There's like some of the tech trees. I think it's neat in Empire, where you can trade like some of your tech that you've learned to other countries to get tech that you haven't learned. But the tech tree is kind of weird because you need to have certain buildings to build certain things, and like they have a whole like the wiki page and their it's not Reddit, but their own like support page in game. So like if you hit like the menu button, and you have a question or something, you can just click like the little eye icon, and it'll pull the tab up on the game and tell you about it. And Warhammer does the one thing I do like about Warhammer is it does have a map of what buildings you need to get certain things. So like you need to build certain buildings to get certain units, or build certain buildings to help people, or build civil peace. I can't think of the right term for it, but yeah, I kind of wish they would kind of go back to Rome 2, where like you would hover over a building that you want to build and it just comes up with everything on the left hand side that it does, and you can have tiers of it instead of like, hey, if you want this you need this building, but you need to have this building, and to have that you need to have this skill. It adds, I see what they're trying to do. It's a grand campaign game, but to me I think it just adds too much to the game and hurts it, because I play it for the real-time strategy, which you're like, oh, I can just play online and do that. But I do like the campaign itself. I do like the challenge of it. It's just sometimes it's a little frustrating, because all I want to do is like click, hover over it, see what it does, click it and be done with it and have it built in like 4 turns. So like that's one con to it, I guess. They're kind of steering away from that and getting more into like the real grandiose campaign thing. And like they've kind of really gotten away from history too, which I don't really like. I really want them to revisit a history game. I would really love to see them update Shogun, because I've tried playing Shogun 2 a few times and it's just frustrating, and like the actual battlefields do not look good in my opinion. Like the settlement buildings, if you attack a settlement, it does not look nice. It is very dated. I think it just needs updated, and I'm not a fan of it. And I'm not a fan of the hero units now. They basically got rid of general units and replaced them with like an OP buff hero that can cast spells or can take on a whole unit by himself. And like that's very immersion breaking, and I don't like that at all. If I want to play as like some big buff hero dude, I can basically play any RPG or first person shooter where I can cast magic and do shit. Like I don't want to play a strategy game where that's a thing, unless it, that's what it's based off of. You're playing as a magic user and you're fighting other magic users in a strategy game, like Wasteland is the first thing that comes to mind, where like you have people with specific skills going against like bad guys that have specific skills, and it's turn based. Keep that for that. Don't put it in my fucking grand strategy game with real time strategy. I don't want that. It's not fun. It's stupid. It doesn't make sense. And like there really isn't a whole lot of gripes other than the AI is a little bad. It needs fixed, and their engine needs updated, which I'm hoping they're doing. Total War Troy seems fun, but I got it free on Epic Game Store. It's not bad. I've only played it like twice. It needs a lot of updating. I guess the actual official release isn't till next year. So they probably put it on Epic Game Store for free just to get people to play it, get feedback. That way they can put it out next year for its full price, because that's when it's going to be out on Steam, is next year. And I guess with basically rounding all that out, my perfect idea of a Total War game is basically like, it's kind of like an RPG, I guess, where you start is the earliest you can in Total War. So it basically be like the Greek era, I suppose. And the only part, you can only select factions from that era when Greek was around, and maybe it only has Europe on the map, and nothing else is unlocked yet till you get further down the road. So like you start in Greek era, and you don't really, you can pick a faction or you can replace a faction. And by replace a faction, I mean you basically make your own faction. So you pick like their military tech, which would basically get into the skill tree, and I'll get to that here in a second. You pick like the colors, you pick your own flag, you pick the government you want, and then you basically replace one of the factions in their starting area, which I don't think would be too hard to do. I think that would be interesting to me. It would be fun. You could get on and upload your own flag, Just take a picture off the internet or something like that, upload it. Obviously, like if you're online doing something, you can't do that for copyright reasons. But basically just that, replacing a faction with your own created faction and starting in the Rome era, probably just in Europe. And you have a skill tree which has military, civil, and tech on it. So military is pretty obvious. It's being able to upgrade your military and create better military units. And the civil tree is basically things to provide to the people. Baths, libraries, schools, things of that sort to keep the people happy. And then the actual tech tree, which is like if you get gunpowder, you can create guns, or you can create better schools. You can turn your metal into, like if you get bronze, you can turn it into actual weapons. Iron, like you can mine iron better and turn it into iron weapons. And that's another thing I kind of liked about Empire, is the farms and stuff around the map and the resources. That's something I would like to see them bring back. So like if you have a certain area, you own like mines, and it's bringing in resources that you can use, and then you could spend those resources and money in the skill tree to unlock it and upgrade it. That way, like, oh, I have all this iron, I can put it into iron research. Yeah, it's going to take, like, I guess it's kind of like Hoi 4, Hearts of Iron 4, yeah. Where, like, you can put stuff in the skill tree, but it'll take certain years to unlock. But if you have everything to do it, you can unlock it maybe like 10 years before it happened, or 20 years before it actually happened. That way you can get an edge against your enemies, but your enemies might be better at something else. So like, let's say you're working on a civil thing. So like you have like public schools, you have colleges, everyone in your country is literate. They're like 20 years ahead of the curve because of your technology and the resources you got. But your neighboring country has put all of its resources in the military, and it's discovered gunpowder and created like single shot gunpowder weapons 20 years before they became a thing. And I think that would be a nice balance, to where it's not too far in the timeline, it's a little before it could happen. I think that would be neat. It would add some interesting mechanics to the gameplay. Like, what do you want to focus on? Do you want to go all like Total War, or like all military, and leave your people basically to suffer? Like, what would happen then? You get so advanced that like your people are going to revolt, Like, you might be militarily advanced compared to everyone else, but you have such civil unrest that you got to spend all your resources fighting civil wars and quelling rebellions rather than expanding your borders. And like, if you're spending all of your money on civil and working on making the people happy, and your military is weak, then people are just going to come in and walk all over you. And then like, if you're not investing in your tech to advance anything at all, then you're just going to get completely wiped out. And I think it would be a nice balance for those three, that in the map you can find resources to use to put into your pool. Total War Troy does that now, where you have to spend your resources on things that you want. I like that. I really do. I like the fact of having like mines, iron mines or coal mines on the map, or farms on the map that give you resources, and you can spend those resources in your tech tree or your skill tree to learn certain things. So like, you have a mine, and you have the stuff to make gunpowder, and you get the first research tab to get gunpowder. So like, here you have the mine, you have the resources to do it. Well, here you can do it to research gunpowder, which will take like, let's say 12 turns to research gunpowder. And at the end of that 12 turns, you can do another research for gunpowder usage, which would be like another 12 turns. And then after that, it unlocks different things to use for gunpowder. Like, it'll unlock it in your military and your civil tree. So in your civil tree, now that you have gunpowder unlocked in your tech tree, you can go to your civil tree and be like, oh, I have gunpowder. Like, local police forces and my garrison forces can now have single shot guns. That will take 12 turns or 16 turns to get that. Or like festivals, maybe there's like a fireworks building or like an armory or something like that to build in your civil thing, and it'll take a X amount of turns to get it. And over in your military, it unlocks the building of certain barracks to where you can get actual musketeers, and it'll train specific soldiers for that. And I think that would be neat, is you would have to get your resources from the map, and you would have to get certain areas, and then once you get it, you could put your resources in the tech tree if you have enough to do research in the tech tree, and as you research the stuff in the tech tree, it unlocks things in the other two trees. And which I think that's about it. It'll kind of wrap into like the history thing too. So like, you start out in Europe, which you don't have to start out then. You could pick like certain time frames to go to, and then after like maybe you've made it up to a certain year in Europe, it unlocks like Asia Minor and Asia, which I guess would start out in the Greek. I guess Asia Minor would start out in the Greek period because of Alexander the Great conquering it, so they knew about it. So maybe Asia Minor and Europe is in it, and after that it goes into like the Roman era. So North Africa unlocks, and a little more like maybe China and parts of Russia unlock, and Northern Europe unlocks. Then it'll go a little further into like the medieval ages, where all of Europe's unlocked, like the coast of Africa and the Middle East is unlocked, and more parts of Asia are unlocked. And then it goes a little further, maybe the Shogun period. Was Shogun the beginning of the Shogun era? Yeah, where like Japan's discovered Korea, like maybe Britain discovers Australia, and like Oceania is unlocked. And then finally it would be like the beginning of the Revolution era. America and Central America become unlocked. Well, Central America would be unlocked, right? The Renaissance period, right after medieval. So, yeah, you can have the Americas unlocked then, but you can't play as any like settlers. You'd have to play as Native American tribes, which again, to me, adds something. Like, you can add a DLC to where you can play as Native American tribes, and you still get the tech tree, but each tech tree is going to be more based around the government and the faction you make. So maybe you look at the government you have, and you can only have certain things you can build or do because of your government. And to me, it would be really interesting to play as a Native American tribe in North America to see where you can get. Can you conquer the world that way? Empire Total War has it to where it has India, obviously, because the West Indies, or it's not the West Indies, the fucking what the hell's it called? The Indian company that Britain had, where they just went in and basically took control and traded. But anyway, like Empire Total War had a part of North America and a little bit of Central America. It had all of Europe and a little bit of Russia, and it had India and a little bit of what's around it, which that was a while ago. That was like mid-2000s. So to me, there's no reason why they couldn't do that now with the whole world, minus like Antarctica and the North Pole. Sorry, but like, there's no point putting inhabitable regions on the map that aren't going to benefit anything, you know? And, you know, you put Africa in there if you want to go. If you don't have a strong navy and you got to go from North Africa to South Africa and you're not taking the coast, like, by the end of it, your army is going to be probably dead. I think that's something neat to put in. Same thing with Australia. If you go from one side of Australia straight through to the other, your army's probably going to be dead by the end of it. Because it's inhabitable. Yeah, I think it would be neat to send armies there to look for the resources and capture the resources, and maybe to have a city here or there in there, just to make it a little more interesting and fill the map out. But it would be neat because you would have to look at the resources, and you would have to conquer certain areas or get trade with certain areas so you can get those resources, or else you're going to be dead in the water. I think, and like, you could choose, there's all kinds of different kinds of governments, there's all kinds of different subclasses of governments too. So, like, there's all kinds of shit you could do with that. And I know there's a few win conditions. I think it said Total War. Like, you can trade with everybody, so basically have a trade victory. You can have make everyone your vassal. Or you can have like a government victory, which I guess is where you don't have any enemies. You're just friendly with everyone, even if you're not trading with them, or they're not your vassal. You're just like, hey, I'm good with you. I'm good with you. Like, there's nothing else to do, so you basically win. So I basically just, whenever you would start in like the Greek-Roman, or the Greek era, go to the Roman, like medieval, like Renaissance, all the way up until the French Revolution, and like have tech trees to where you can make it within like 20 years of each thing. Let's look. I got notes here, so I'm kind of looking and reading at the same time. You can advance quicker. Let's see, I'm reading my own notes and I don't even know what the hell I'm talking about, because I am like that. I am such a professional. Oh, basically, yeah, like what I said. So, like, you can advance through the tech tree quicker, but not to a point to where it's not going to fit in, obviously. I'm trying to think what else. It's like I actually made notes on like the last episode where I just kind of went by the seat of my pants. And it's, you could probably tell, which is why that podcast is not very long. I recorded like over an hour of shit, and I ended up with 45 minutes, 50 something minutes of it. It was less than an hour. And I'm trying to shoot to make every podcast at least an hour and 15 minutes. So basically creating your own army. That's basically what I would love to see in a Total War game, is they give you everything to make your own faction. I mean, I think it would be neat to be able to pick your own troops. So, like, like Greek was mostly phalanx, and phalanx fell out of style because the other armies would take them into hilly terrain to where the phalanx would not be coherent and stick together, and then you could just get in close and, you know, pretty much take them out. And I think it would be neat to be able to pick your army like that. So if you want to be a phalanx army that translate into a certain army from medieval time, I think that would be neat. I would honestly probably start... I love Rome, but I really like the history of Germany, especially Prussia and the Holy Roman Empire, stuff like that. Like, I really want to learn more about that, so I kind of like that. And you can play as Prussia and I forget the fucking other one, the other faction that's like that. And Napoleon Total War. I keep wanting to say French Total War. It's Napoleon Total War, because I always play as them, and I go after the French, obviously, because, and I would pick like the Celtic tribes from Germany, and like, would you can if you can replace them, then they're not probably going to be historically accurate, and like you'd have better access to wood and hunting and stuff like that. And I'm guessing Central Europe. I don't know what all they have there, but you go around, you can discover mines, or if you get something in your civil or your tech tree to let you build mines, maybe you could just add on too. Like if there's no resources, you can do a strip mine or an in-ground mine, or whatever it is. There's a certain technical name for it, and I don't know what it is. But if it's in your tech tree, if you have it researched, you can do that. You can try to get your own resources. It won't make your people happy. I believe it should bring like civil unrest, because you're putting your civilians' lives in danger for your own ends, especially if you're running a high military, and all that's going to the military and none of it's going to the people. Like, it's going to cause civil unrest, and you're going to have revolutions and slave revolts to deal with. And I mean, that brings up another big thing off the top of my head that I just said. Like, in the older Total Wars, after a battle, you can sell the captured soldiers into slavery. And I think that's something you need to get rid of in a game like this, since it goes up to the French Revolution. And obviously during the Revolutionary War, there was slavery. So I think that's something they should nip in the bud, not even put into the game. I like how I think they kind of did, because in the newer games, whenever you defeat an army, you take on their warriors, which to me, that's how it should be. So they should either be freed, killed, or taken on. I think that's the best way to do it. Then you don't have to worry about anything. You don't have to worry about any of that nutshell when it gets to the Revolutionary era. You can either kill the captives, you can take on the soldiers, or you just let them go. Obviously, if you let them go, I think they should go back, and they're going to reform their army, or they're going to retreat and come back. I usually just kill them. I don't worry about it. But in some of them, I do just take them on. I think Three Kingdoms, I do that, and the little bit of time I've played Thrones of Britannia, I just take on their warriors. It keeps me from having to wait 500 turns to get my army replenished. I think that's how that should be done. I think armies should slowly build up. Although I do miss the times where you could just click on it and they would be recruited after one turn. So I guess, that brings me to another point. Well, I'm just kind of snowballing here. So in Rome 2, to recruit factions, you click on the faction you want, and it shows how many turns it would take to recruit. And after that many turns, you would end up with a full unit. Where in Thrones of Britannia, you click on them and recruit them, but it'll take a certain amount of time before that unit gets full. So obviously, depending on where you're at and what kind of faction you are playing, will determine on how that goes. Like Rome, obviously, they could pull resources to have soldiers like that, like real fast. Where in Thrones of Britannia, I think I've probably butchered that 4 times. You have to wait, because there's not a massive pool of people to pull from for your army. And like, you're not going out on massive conquering missions, and there's not like a big coherent government like there was in Rome. So I think that would be something neat to put in to implement, depending on the type of faction and the type of government you have, and where you pick your faction. If you pick it in a low density area, maybe you have to wait for soldiers to join. Where if you start in a very populated area, there's maybe like a Roman faction, you can wait one turn and have a full stack of soldiers. Or maybe there's an option to turn it on or off. Because sometimes I like just getting an army really fast and going out. And sometimes I do like the realism of waiting for the army to build up before I go out and attack. I don't think there's really too much left to go over for like the perfect Total War game. It's basically just a historical campaign that takes place over history from Greek till French Revolution era. That's what I would like to see. It's basically just a massive grand campaign that slowly introduces different parts of the world, and you could pick any era to start in. So it breaks it down into different eras. And like once you get to that era, it's like a chapter. It's like entering like the Bronze Age, or entering the military age, or the what the hell is it called? Industrial age. So I think that would neat, and as that happens, it opens up the map more. But you can pick any era to begin in, and you can pick any faction to replace. I would start from way at the beginning and see where my faction would get after playing that whole time, which is a long time too. So like, it's a massive campaign, and so you need to kind of introduce things slowly, and you need to fill the map too. That way, by like the Middle Ages, you don't have a whole map conquered already. You know, you need to make it to where you can start turn 1 in ancient Greece, and by like over a turn 1,000 or something like that, you finally make it to the French Revolution, and you got like a dozen factions left to take care of, and it's mainly like the big powers, and that's how it should be. Once you get to certain eras, factions shouldn't be shove-overs, pushovers. You know, obviously, if you stay in the southern part of Europe as playing as Greece, and you just kind of take over the Middle East and Asia Minor, like Alexander the Great did, and you let it go and you let North Europe go until Britain basically becomes whole and does their whole thing, then like you obviously have a massive empire that you have to deal with. And the Americas, if they get colonized and you let them go through their whole thing, like there's a faction. And same thing with Russia. So, sorry, excuse me. I'm talking a lot, and I don't have any water with me, so my throat's getting dry, and I don't talk a lot, so, you know. Alright, sorry for that pause there. I had to go get a drink. So, where was I? Oh, starting like Greece and going all the way to the French Revolution. That's basically the big selling point. Just being able to travel through time like that. And also like the RPG of being able to build your own faction, build your own military. I think that's basically the main selling. Those are the two main selling points of it. Obviously, like the tech tree is going to be very in depth, I believe, to try to bring balance to the game. That way you don't have, you know, the Romans with gunpowder just going around and destroying everyone. That's not fun. That's not realistic. I think maybe playing the game and discovering gunpowder at like the maybe mid to early medieval era is a little more on par to where it kind of fits in without being too goofy. Obviously, like you're not going to be you're going to be powerful, but you're not going to be overpowered. Because I think you should be obviously limited to how many units you could have. Because depending on your resources, you're obviously, like, if you don't have enough resources to just make your whole army riflemen, then you can only have a couple units. You can only field them. But at the same time, in the early era, they're going to be single shot rifles, which means if they're not carrying like fucking 5 rifles on them, they're just going to get completely overwhelmed anyway. So, you know, there'd be a nice balance there to try to figure out. I don't think there's really anything else for this. So, have any of you guys played Total War at all? I guess would be the question to pop down in the comments. If so, what is your favorite Total War game? Mine's Rome 2. I really love it. The AI is glitchy in it. I've played it multiple times. I've played as Sparta. I've played as Rome. I've played as one of like the northern, like Germanic Celtic tribes. I've played as Egypt, and I've played as one of all the Seleucids. One of Alexander's generals' countries that got made when he died and they just fell apart. So if so, what games have you played? I know I didn't really talk about the Warhammer ones. I do enjoy Warhammer 2. It's just I prefer the historical games over the fantasy games. I know there's going to be another one, so maybe sometime I can go over a fantasy Total War game and what my perfect fantasy Total War game would be. But that would be, like I said, that would be a whole nother podcast. It'd probably be like Lord of the Rings-esque, which if you're looking for that itch, there's mods for it, and like there's Total War Warhammer. If you're interested in these games, hopefully the gameplay in the background has maybe brought some info and some light on what the games are all about. I did put mods into the game just to try to push the game to get it a little quicker, because I didn't want it to be, usually like the first 20 turns is just me sitting there doing diplomacy and building stuff and watching my money, where it's not fun. So I gave myself some funds, that way I could, recruit some armies, get going a little quicker. That way you can get into some battles. That way you can see a little bit of both. You can see the main campaign map, and you can see some battles going on. I think I quick resolved a couple of the first battles because it wouldn't have been fun. So with that, I think we can probably hop into our next bit that we are going into, which is the channel updates, which, as you can hear me flipping my notes here, there is a decent bit of channel updates. There's going to be some schedule changes for the channel. So the first thing to bring up is the raft is going to be ending. It's not very fun for me anymore. It's hard to discover things. It's just kind of boring. Now, like, if you guys want to, like, if I meet some of you guys that want to play it together on a computer, which is what I have it on PC, and a couple of you guys want to play, I'm okay with getting on and recording an episode with you guys and playing it. Or in my downtime, if you guys want to play, just let me know. You can hit me up on Facebook or drop a comment below, and I'm okay with that. But just playing it by myself, recording it, it's not very fun, so it's gonna get ended. As I'm recording this podcast, as it goes up, there's probably gonna be like 2 more episodes of the raft waiting to get uploaded. So just be prepared for that. The raft is going to end. 7 Days to Die is going to take the place of the raft. I figure I've had a few people ask me to play it. I do enjoy 7 Days to Die. I've only played it on the Xbox. I haven't really played it on the PC. So I'm hoping it's a lot better. I'm pretty sure it is. It's kind of in the same vein as the Raft. It's a survival game. It's a zombie survival game for the people that don't know. I'm really excited to play it. It does have multiplayer, so it's the same thing. If any of you guys want to play, let me know. We can record an episode where I play it. I do plan on down the road doing a podcast of like a zombie game, not necessarily maybe a survival zombie game, but just a zombie game in general. So you keep an eye out for that. That might not be till next year sometime, but 7 Days to Die is going to come out on Halloween, so spoopy, perfect time. I was going to do it, have it replace the Raft on that Thursday, but I think I have the final episode of the Raft coming out, either that or that's House Flippers, that's that Thursday before Halloween. And I was like, I'll just do 7 Days to Die for Halloween. It works. It kind of perfect timing. It fits in. So I'm hoping it's going to do a lot better. It should be more fun because like I just don't have to sit there and watch the shark eat my shit. Like I actually get to travel around and search stuff and be cautious of zombies. So that's that update. The Witcher is going to get moved to Thursday. So on November 19th, The Witcher will be out. That's going to be the first one that comes out on Thursday, because the next day, on the 20th, I'm going to have my first Cyberpunk video come out. So, Cyberpunk is going to be every Friday as of November 20th. And then, The Witcher, I almost forgot what the hell game I was talking about. The Witcher is going to come out every other Thursday, along with 7 Days to Die. Now, House Flippers is not going away. It's going to get moved to the second Saturday of every month, to where I can record for, I can do it like 40 minutes. So House Flippers is going to be like a 40-minute episode once a month. So you're basically going to get like 2 episodes worth once a month, which I think that's a fair trade. I'm going to do that until I basically have really nothing left to do in House Flippers, because my whole main goal in House Flippers is to buy a house that has a vault in it and get it fixed up into the way I want it to be, and basically make a nice fancy house for myself in House Flippers. And then once that's done, I'll keep an eye out if there's any ideas you guys have. So once House Flippers is done, I might throw The Witcher in that Saturday spot and pick another game to put in Thursday. If you guys haven't really paid attention too much, if you're new to the channel, Thursdays is basically like my casual day. It's the nice easy day. It's the Raft. It's the House Flippers. It's basically a game that I can sit back and relax and enjoy, and I don't really have to worry about a story or a campaign or anything like that to get it done. It's just wander around and do shit, basically. So, which is part of the reason why I'm getting the Raft and replacing with 7 Days to Die, because I'm standing on a raft with nothing to do for 20 minutes other than like ramble in the game. And sometimes I feel like I'm not very good at rambling, and when I play that game, I don't feel like I come across as I'm excited to play it, because I'm mostly just talking about the game. I like getting distracted and making shit up, which it's getting the same way with The Witcher, which is why I'm kind of pulling back on The Witcher, and I might put it in that Saturday slot. So it's still kind of up in the air if House Flippers is going to stay on Thursday and The Witcher is going to go to once a month. Just because The Witcher, I've played, like I think I've said it before in The Witcher, I've played The Witcher twice. It's just, it's not very fun anymore, because it's so big and there's so much to do, and it's going to take so long to play that, having been through it twice, and the first time sinking like, I think it was like 400 or 500 hours into it, it's just, It's not as fun. But I'm going to keep playing it. We'll see where it goes. Right now, it'll be on every other Thursday come November 19th. And then I said, yeah, House Flippers is going to be a longer episode. It's going to be on once a month. Cyberpunk is going to start on November 20th. It's going to take over every Friday. And then the last Saturday of every month, I'm going to have my podcast, which I'm thinking of just calling the Perfect Podcast, because I'm just going to pick a game, and for like 40 minutes, which seems to be the consensus of the past couple podcasts, 40 to 45 minutes, go over that game on why I like it, why I don't like it, what I would do to make it better, and basically coming up with the perfect version of the game. So that'll be once a month. I do have a list of games that I want to do for that in my notebook here. So yeah. And you're probably like, why does he write everything down? I write everything down because, as you guys have probably noticed, if not, usually when I'm recording, that's when my fucking phone goes off. Like, I could not get a message at all day. And then as soon as I go to record, my phone wants to go off. So I don't like putting notes on it, and if my phone dies, then I'm kind of screwed and I got nothing to look at. But I do have like 8 different perfect podcasts that I have an idea for to go over. I'm going to keep them to myself. If you guys have any ideas, go ahead and drop them in the comments below. I'll go over them, because I'm interested to know. I want to know if there's any games you guys like. I have thought, I don't know if I want to do this, and I can't remember if I went over this before, but there is a few game ideas, like original game ideas in my head of games that I would like to create one day, that I thought about going over in a podcast or on a channel or on my channel, but I'm afraid to do that because I'm afraid of somebody taking that idea and actually going forward with it. So like I thought about maybe doing them for the Perfect Podcast. It's like my perfect game, my idea for a game, and it's like an original idea that I know that I've never seen anything of. It might be an idea, or it might be some kind of an idea out there. But I thought about doing that. I'm just not sure yet. So, like, I'm open for ideas. I want you guys to let me know what games you would like to see me do a perfect podcast of. We'll see. If I've played it before, then I can obviously do it. If I haven't played it before, then maybe I'll throw it on the channel. More channel updates before I get into the last bit. If I get to like 50, if I get to 100 subscribers, I am going to do a Discord. Like, that's a given thing that I'm going to do. So once I get 100 subscribers, I'm going to do a Discord. That way, like, if you guys want to talk to me, get a hold of me, it'll be easier than just, trying to get hold of me through all the different links. Because I'll eventually get on Discord. I would try to check Discord every day. So, and it'll be a place for all of you guys to chat too. And all my links would be shared there, and, So, and I do have somewhat of an idea in mind for Patreon, but that's a very, very long way down the road. I hope to get there one day, but you never know. Like, the Patreon isn't probably something that's going to be on my mind till I get like 1,000 something subscribers, and like thinking of tiers for it. Obviously, like getting your names on the videos. I'm thinking of maybe if it gets that far, having, on a certain tier, you get to pick a game I play, or you can join in a game I play if you don't want to Like, if you don't want to join in a game, I can play a game that you suggest. That kind of stuff. But like I said, that's a bit of ways away. I'm shooting for the 100 subscribers first to get a Discord going. That way it's a little easier for everybody to get together and talk and see, you know, talk about the things you like, the video games you like, what we have in common, if there's any games you guys want me to play, which is what I try to keep pushing. Just trying to find stuff, more things than my general games, because I usually just know a lot of AAA games, which let's face it, it's not as it's getting late. I'm tired. I'm an old man. I'm usually in bed by 9, and it's like 11:30 now, so I'm getting fucking tired. So, I lost my train of thought. There's that. So, that does it all for the channel updates. Now for the last part of the podcast, I almost forgot the word. The last part is basically just gaming news. There really isn't much going on in gaming that I have noticed too much. The last thing I brought up on the last podcast was Bethesda being bought out. I haven't really seen anything else like that. I know people have been wanting Sony to buy a couple things, and I'm looking forward to the new Xbox coming out. Because I haven't really watched a whole lot of Cyberpunk news. That's just, I want to try to stay away from some of that so I could be a little more surprised and excited for it. I did see there's another Call of Duty coming out. I haven't really been interested in Call of Duty. I played World War II, is what it was. I enjoyed it, but I feel like it was towards the end of the main campaign. They were just like, yeah, we need to focus on multiplayer, fuck it. But that's going to be, again, I have a podcast idea. That's going to be a podcast idea, like the perfect Call of Duty game. And like, there's so many problems I have with it. Zombies is really the only thing I'm excited for that. There really hasn't been much, especially with Corona going on. Like, I watched some Fallout 76 updates too, but I haven't really played that in a while. And really the only news I have, which I don't know how many of you guys play Magic the Gathering, not like Magic with like pulling a dove out of your ass and like a bunny out of your hat kind of stuff. It's like the card game. So Magic did a thing where they have a secret layer. So I haven't really looked into it much, but from what I understand, the secret layer is they pick like 5 cards from Magic's history and they reprint them in a different style. Like, they got new art, they're fancy, like they're nice. They maybe have a different name, but they have the same function as the older card. So they did a deal with The Walking Dead. So they have Walking Dead cards out, 5 of them. And people are pissed. And I'm honestly not very happy about it either, because it doesn't fit in with Magic at all. Like, I don't know how that fits. How does Walking Dead fit into fucking Magic the Gathering universe? I can understand D&D, because D&D is a fantasy, role-playing game. And it has a lot of the same creatures as Magic. Or Magic has a lot of the same creatures as it, I guess would be the right way to say it, because Dungeons & Dragons has been around longer than Magic. It's just... And none of, like, it's not even... None of these cards exist either. Like, they're not renaming. I didn't know they did this. They had Ikoria, I believe it was, came out, which is like monsters, like big monsters. They had a Godzilla card in it. But the Godzilla card is just a reskin and a rename of a previous card that already exists in Magic. These cards don't exist anywhere in Magic's history. And they're putting them in, and they're legal to use. and the one deck that was made around Negan, I think it was, went undefeated at one of the tours, which, I mean, you could look at Magic's history. There's probably a lot of decks that went undefeated at tour. So, like, I don't really care too much about that. It's just the fact that it's completely out of place compared to all the other cards, and I think it's stupid. There's a lot of people saying it should be a silver bordered card. A silver bordered card, if you don't know, is an unset. So they're like fun cards. There's a card where you got to throw it 2 feet into the air and you got to catch it. And if you catch it, you get to blow up any permanent on the field, I believe. And then there's one where like you rip a piece of paper up, or you rip that card up and you toss it into the air, and whatever the pieces land on gets destroyed. And there's one where you got to stand like 20 feet back and you shoot an opponent's deck with a Nerf gun, and the cards that fall off onto the floor, they go into the graveyard. It's all kinds of crazy shit like that is an unset, and they're not legal in regular Magic. So I think they might be legal in Commander. I'm not sure. Commander's weird. I don't really play Commander. Anyway, people think they should be silver bordered, and I agree with that. They should be something that's different to Magic, but they also don't fit with the unsets. So what I would like to see is just a media set. So they have unsets, which are their own goofy things. They have, I think there's 2 of them. There might actually be 3 unsets. And then you have regular Magic, which is all kinds of formats: Commander, Pauper, Modern, Standard, Legacy. I know there's a couple other Brawl, a couple other formats that I just can't remember off the top of my head. And I think you should make a media set. Now, a media set, in my mind, would be taking The Walking Dead. So you can make cards with Walking Dead characters on it, or Walking Dead zombies, and create your own like 300 card set. It's like maybe it's like a 200 card set of The Walking Dead, and you can play it with itself. It's its own contained thing. It's not legal in any other format. It's legal in The Walking Dead media or Magic the Gathering media set. Then maybe like every other year you come out with a new media set, because I've seen on Facebook, on some of the Magic groups I follow, they do like reskins or Photoshop make a like Star Wars cards. I would absolutely love that, but it does not fit in the meta of regular Magic. It would have to be in the media set. So like that would be that. You have The Walking Dead, then 2 years from now you come out with Star Wars media set, and you can combine any of those cards together and make a set or make a deck, but they can only be used against other decks in the media, I'm using air quotes, format. So I think that would be neat. And Star Wars has got a history that you can milk that cow. Like, you can milk that cash cow for all kinds of fucking money with Star Wars, because Star Wars has such a history, and it's still going on, that you can make multiple sets. And then you could look at other media that's kind of like that. So I get what they did with The Walking Dead. I don't like it. I don't think it should be its own thing. I think it should be, like I said, a media set. Star Wars has got a big history. Then maybe you could do superheroes. You could take Marvel. You could take X-Men. Maybe you take specific properties from that instead of just Marvel. Deadpool. Or like that. Deadpool only has like himself and how many villains? So maybe you lump them all together and you create like 2 or 3 sets of like 250 cards apiece. I think that would be neat. And then like you got special moves. You could do the same thing. You got special moves or special equipment. Obviously, like force push would be like maybe return a card to its owner's hand, or like force choke is destroy target creature. And things like that, like Death Star laser, like it's a board wipe. It just wipes everything. And you can take certain aspects or certain things from the media and turn them into instant sorceries and artifacts and stuff. Because you can take like X-Wings and TIE Fighters and make them vehicles, which I don't like. I think that's a stupid fucking mechanic. They should have never done that. But anyway, yeah, like you can take a lightsaber. A lightsaber is an artifact, and depending on what color it is, a blue lightsaber. Well, you got to pay blue mana to cast it and blue mana to equip it. Or red, you got to pay red mana to cast it. And then like if you have purple, maybe it's colorless. But like, let's see, you have red, blue, green, yellow you can make white, and then black, which there's only one black saber. So maybe you find like the mythic rare lightsabers are all colored, and then the rest of them are just artifacts, and like I could see the black saber would be the most expensive artifact that you can equip, and it's like equipped creature is black in addition to its other colors, and it gets like a whatever compared to how many swamps you have or something like that. And like it gets a +1/+1 for each swamp you control. I think that would be that would be neat. Then you do the same thing with X-Men. It's their equipment. They use it as artifact equipments. Or you got planets in Star Wars that that they're use them in like an enchantment card, like Hoth or Endor. That the shield generators, like Endor shield generators or Hoth shield generators, and they do a certain thing. Maybe they give you like hexproof or something like that. I think that's something neat they would do. I don't like what they did with The Walking Dead. I think they should just have a whole media section done for it. I think that would be good. They can make money from it. The fucking nerds will eat it up. I know I would. I would absolutely love it. I mean, I've spent thousands of dollars on Magic cards, and act like I won't go out and buy fucking 3 paper sets of fucking Star Wars that came out. Like, I understand it from like a money aspect, from a business aspect. That's smart. People love The Walking Dead. They're going to buy it. And maybe that will lead them into making another format that is just for those media cards. And Wizards of the Coast, I know I'm a small channel. I only have 20 viewers or 20 subscribers right now, but do it. I think that's a smart idea. It needs to be its own format. Then you could just fucking go to Disney and be like, hey, we'll do a deal here. We'll make fucking Marvel. We'll make Star Wars. Like, I think they should be young adult and adult properties. I don't think you should go out and be like My Little Pony Magic the Gathering set. I know there might be some bronies out there, but no. Frozen, no. Like, it should be young adult to adult media formats that you go after. Media properties. Yeah. So, like, maybe you do like a horror movie one where it's a bunch of horror movies, a bunch of villains. I think that would be neat. I'm just trying to think off the top of my head. So it'd be The Walking Dead. You'd have horror. You'd have Marvel. You would have Star Wars. You could do Lord of the Rings. What the hell's Marvel? Marvel's competitor. So I know a lot about comics. Like, you could do popular anime. You could do One Punch Man, Naruto, Dragon Ball Z. Granted, some of them have their own card games. I don't know how well over that would go. Maybe you just don't touch that. Maybe I think you stick with more like live action. Again, I'm doing air quotes. You can't fucking see it. But like live action media compared to just like cartoons or anime. I think it just makes it easier. I think it would make the art cooler. Because then, like, if you do cartoon and anime, it's just kind of going to be ripping off the art, you know? Which, if they're live action things, then, you know, the person doing the art for the card would have their own, could put their own style on it. And, like, again, Star Wars. I am a Star Wars fan, but, like, Darth Vader's went through so many iterations and different art styles before they came to the one that you see in the movies. So, you know, he could, the artist that's doing something for Darth Vader could pick an artwork that they never used and put it on the card, or he could put his own flair in it. And to me, I think that would be neat. To me, that would be a missed opportunity for them not to do like a media set every other year, kind of like a master set, which, let's face it, I think Paper Magic is, I think they're doing all of this to make money off of Paper Magic, and I think that's the way it's going to go, because I think, in my opinion, Wizards doesn't really give a shit about Paper Magic anymore. They're going down the hole of, we have Magic Arena. You can, it's basically standard, and I think it's working its way into Modern. But the only thing they have to do is pay to keep the servers up. They don't have to print anything. And if they have their own servers, they're making way more money off of Magic Arena than they are Paper Magic. You don't have to pay you don't have to pay artists, really. You don't have to pay to get the cards printed. You don't have to pay to get them foiled. You don't have to pay to get them packed or shipped. Like, it's just all there. Fucking upload the card to the server. There it's going. People are paying fucking $6 for a pack. Like, why? I've like I said, I spent thousands of dollars on Magic, and I refuse to spend a cent on Magic Arena. Just for that fact. Like, they don't have half the cards I have, just because it's from, like, Amonkhet to now. And I got cards from sets older than that. And there's no guarantee you'll get any of the cards you have in your collection already, because you have to get packs. And you have to play to get coins to get packs, or you have to spend real world money to get packs. And, like, when you start out, you suck. Like, the decks are absolute shit unless you spend hours upon hours upon hours and people letting you win so you can get coins to get packs. And even then, that doesn't mean you're going to get anything good. And, like, you're going to need multiples, and I believe the packs will just give you one. Just like if you were to get a random, you just go down to the local game store and get a paper cardboard version of the cards. You're taking a chance, which on the third market, you can fucking just go and buy the cards you want, which is what all the Magic YouTubers I watch that I subscribe to, they live by that. Go to the local game store and get it. And, like, I didn't buy singles for the longest time. I just buy booster boxes, but it saves me a lot of money just buying the cards I need for decks. I like collecting, but it's a bit of a waste now. And, like, just Magic Arena is a pain in the ass. I could spend a long time on it, but I'm not going to because I'm coming up on my time. So, to wrap everything up, again, the perfect Total War game just takes place from Greece all the way to the French Revolution, and it allows you to create your own faction, basically, and pick your government, pick your colors, pick the kind of military you want, create your own flag, and just let you go at it. I guess Hearts of Iron has mods, stuff like that, where you can put it in, where you can make your own stuff in Hearts of Iron 4. Hearts of Iron 4 is a little more of a bigger learning curve. I'm still kind of learning it, but it's something I would like to see in Total War, because I just like seeing all the people on the screen battling. So that's that, and then all the schedule changes coming up. So The Witcher's going to move to Thursdays starting November 19th. November 20th, Cyberpunk's going to start on every Friday. House Flippers is getting moved to the second Saturday of every month. It's going to be at least 40 minutes long, so it's going to basically be 2 episodes. And a podcast every last Saturday of the month, which is going to be basically the perfect podcast. It's where I pick a game that I like. I do the pros, I do the cons, I do my history with the game, and I go over how I would make the game, or my perfect view, or my vision of the game, or the version I want. There's going to be no more Raft. It's going to get replaced by 7 Days to Die. 7 Days to Die will start on Halloween, so keep an eye out for that. So you'll probably get a few... Oh no, because as soon as 7 Days to Die comes out on Halloween, which is a Saturday this year, it'll go back into the Thursday slot, and then House Flippers will take that Saturday slot. Because I think it's coming out... the last. So my podcast is going to be switched around for this month. So the podcast is coming out the second Saturday, and then the off episode is coming out at the end of the month. Then next month, the podcast will be at the end of the month. So be careful of that. So you're not going to miss a podcast the next month. It's just going to be at the end of November instead of the beginning. It just kind of worked out this way this month. Because I was like, that's Halloween. I'll just do 7 Days to Die. And then finally, basically just the gaming news, everything in Magic. They're coming out with The Walking Dead Secret Lair, which you can only pre-order for a week. Once that week is closed, you can't get them again, which means the prices are going to skyrocket on the singles. And how I hate that, and I think they should just make a media version of the game to where it's just media cards that have adult properties. Well, I guess I wouldn't say adult properties. Adult media. So, violent, like, superhero stuff for, like, teens to young adults to adults. And I think with that, we are basically done. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope I didn't ramble too much for the Total War, like the beginning part. I do take notes beforehand. If there's any improvements you want to see, let me know. Drop it down in the comments below. And if you guys could please like, subscribe, share, hit that bell icon. That way you get notified when I do upload a new video. And with that, that's the end of the podcast. I'll see you guys on the next video.